Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. We are now just a few days away from the national championship between number 3 Ohio State and number 1 Alabama. What should be a fantastic game to conclude what's been a phenomenal, a wild, and unpredictable college football season. To me, guys, one of the best seasons we have had probably since that wild 2007 season. It's been like that all year long, and this is the perfect way to end it all. So today we want to take a look at the road to the championship for both the Buckeyes and the Crimson Tide. We're going to break down a little bit of history, a little national title history for both teams, and then what these teams had to do to get to this point, what they had to do, the obstacles they had to overcome to get to the national championship. Again, in a year that has been so wild and so unpredictable and so tough for every single team across the country. So you look at this matchup, guys. This is a matchup between two blue blood programs, and we know that. Ohio State and Alabama historically have always been some of the best teams in college football. They're one of the best teams and best programs in college football history. Not just because of the success that they have and that they have had over the past, but just the tradition. The tradition and the pageantry that goes on at both of these schools here. Legendary coaches, legendary players, tons of success, and I think it's fitting that we're getting to see these two teams in a national championship game. You know, the last time these two teams met was back in 2014, early 2015, in the first ever college football playoff. That was number 1 Alabama taking on number 4 Ohio State in the Sugar Bowl. Ohio State pulled off the upset in that one. No one was giving Urban Meyer and Carl Dale Jones. They weren't giving him a chance. Ohio State beat Alabama 42-35 in that one. Ezekiel Elliott playing a big role in that too. And then, of course, Ohio State beat Oregon in the national championship to end the first ever college football playoff. They were the 4th seed, barely snuck in, and won the playoff that year. So that's the last time these two teams met. That was in a semifinal game. It's great now that we're going to get to see them for the big one. Winner take all national championship. So let's take a look at Ohio State. They are playing in their 5th national title. Yes, the Buckeyes do claim 8 national championships, 6 of those coming between the 1940s and the 1970s, but they're playing in their 5th real national championship game. They won it back in 2003 against Miami, as we know. They won it back in 2014 against Oregon, first college football playoff. Can they get it again now? Can they win it now? Because prior to that college football playoff appearance that they had back in 14, back when they beat the Ducks, they had not been to a championship game since 2007, where they fell to LSU. And again, funny how it's all coming full circle. I know they had a championship appearance in there, but 2007, they fell to LSU. That was one of the wildest years in football history. We're dealing with a very similar one now in 2020. So the Buckeyes looking to capture their 9th national championship. Alabama, they're looking to capture their 18th national title. Remember, they claim 17, and the debate will always rage on whether Alabama and Ohio State and plenty of other programs across the country should claim those national titles from the 1940s to the 1970s. We really didn't have championship games. It was whoever finished first in the polls was your national champion. So the debate will always rage on whether teams had the right amount of championships, but the Buckeyes and the Crimson Tide will stand strong and defend their titles. Alabama, 17. They are making their 8th national championship appearance under Nick Saban. 8th national title under Nick Saban. That is unreal, guys. Unreal. And if Nick Saban wins, if Alabama beats Ohio State on Monday, Nick Saban will claim his 7th national championship in his collegiate coaching career, and that's going to break a tie with the legendary Bear Bryant, who, of course, also coached at Alabama. Will break a tie with him for the most national championships by a coach in college football history. Each of them have 6 right now. Saban wins, it will be his 7th. It's unreal. So the job that he has done at Alabama, he solidified himself as the greatest college coach of all time. They're making their 5th national title appearance in the last 6 years. Alabama back in the playoff after just missing out last year. Remember, they had 2 losses last year to LSU and Auburn, ultimately keeping them out of the playoffs. So it's been a whirlwind of events, guys. It's been a whirlwind journey for Alabama, for Ohio State. A lot of history on the line here. A lot of history between both of these schools. Each trying to look to add another national championship to their name. They both have so many. And you look at how they got here. How did Ohio State and Alabama, how did they wind up in this point? How did they make the college football playoff? How are they playing in this national championship? Again, if you want analysis on the game itself, you can go watch our national championship prediction that we just released a few days ago. But I want to start with Ohio State. I think they're the team that people criticize the most, and some people still don't think that Ohio State should be in this championship game because their method and their path, their road to this national title was very different. It was not like everybody else's. Ohio State played an all Big Ten schedule. Most Power 5 conferences did. They played an all-conference schedule. Not a big deal. Ohio State played 7 games, though. They have played 7 games so far compared to Alabama's 12 games. So you almost half a season right there. Ohio State's played half. Alabama's practically played a full. Ohio State did not play their first game until October 24th. That was their first game of the year. At that point, Alabama was playing in their 5th game of the season. And that is by, that's no fault of Ohio State's. It's not their fault the Big Ten can't plan. It's not Ohio State's fault that the Big Ten leadership isn't competent enough to get the job done, just like all the other Power 5 conferences did. That is not Ohio State's fault. So Ohio State starting on October 24th, they can't help it. They were just following the rules of the conference they are put in. So they played their first game then, had 3 games canceled this year due to COVID issues. And again, in theory, that should have meant they wouldn't play in the Big Ten championship game. The Big Ten set the rule and the guidelines that we're playing an 8-game season. You have to play at least 6 games to be eligible for the Big Ten title game. When Ohio State fell below that, the Big Ten changed their rules for the Buckeyes, knowing that the Buckeyes were the only chance to get a Big Ten team into the college football playoff. Changed the rules. Ohio State made the title game, came from behind to defeat Northwestern, a game that was a lot closer, a lot tougher than many expected. Defeated the Wildcats 22-10, made the college football playoff as the 3 seed, and annihilated Clemson. Another shocking turn of events. No one thought that Ohio State was going to dominate the way they did. Maybe win, but not dominate. And Ohio State beat the Tigers 49-28 with 639 yards of offense against this Brent Venables defense. So their road has been unorthodox. It's been different. But really this whole season has. You can't tell me that any team has had a normal season, a normal path to the playoff, to the postseason, to the championship. Again, criticize Ohio State all if you want. Again, I don't agree with the method. I don't agree with the way the Big Ten handled things. But I think Ohio State proved a lot of doubters wrong in that college football playoff semifinal by dominating Clemson the way they did. If Ohio State had gotten murdered, everybody would have said they didn't deserve to be there. And I would have agreed with them. If Ohio State had lost in a close one, they still would have said that they didn't deserve to be in there. I don't know if I would have agreed with that. But dominating Clemson by 21 points, putting up that many yards and that many points against that Clemson defense, showed that Ohio State belongs, even though they only have played 7 games this season. You look at Alabama, their path to the championship. It's been dominating from start to finish. I mean, Alabama was the playoff, I think, heavy favorite going into this season. At least one of them. They were certainly the SEC favorite this year. They missed out on the playoff last year. They missed out on winning the SEC last year thanks to Joe Burrow and LSU. We knew the Tide were going to bounce back. We knew they were going to be out for revenge. And they've taken it out on every single opponent they have faced this year. Alabama has won 11 of their 12 games they have played by at least 15 points. By at least 15 points. Their closest margin of victory was 6 points against Florida in that SEC championship. And let's keep in mind, Alabama still dominated that game from start to finish. Defense didn't play great, but the Crimson Tide never trailed in that game. The best Florida could do was tie them. Alabama never trailed in that game against the Gators. They scored at least 31 points in every single game this year. The only team that held them to that lowest margin was Notre Dame in the college football playoff. And Alabama certainly could have put up more points if they'd wanted to. I think Steve Sarkisian took his foot off the gas a little bit. Alabama had that game in the bag, unfortunately for Fighting Irish fans, had it in the bag before the game even started. And you look at Alabama again. They got very favorable. They got very fortunate. The SEC added their 2 games. The SEC, they played an all-conference schedule. Alabama started that schedule on September 26th, so much later than many teams normally would. Under a normal year, we would start beginning of September, maybe last week of August. So they started late, per the SEC rules, and the SEC added 2 opponents for everybody coming cross division. And Alabama somehow landed Missouri in week 1, a Missouri team that wasn't all that hot last year and was dealing with a new coach, and they landed Kentucky, who Alabama beat by 60 points. They dominated Missouri. They dominated the Wildcats. They had Tennessee and Georgia already. That was already locked into their schedule, but they didn't give them Florida. They didn't give them, obviously Vanderbilt would have been a lot worse, not South Carolina. It was slim pickings in the East. The East is certainly much more easier than the West, or at least of right now. But Alabama did get two of the weaker teams, I would say, at least before the season began, in Missouri and Kentucky. Very favorable for them, and the Crimson Tide dominated every team again, from start to finish, all 12 games. And that brings us to our final point here, guys. It's been a wild road, again, a winding road, an unorthodox road for both of these teams. But Ohio State, they have certainly been battle-tested in their 7 games. They faced a tough matchup against Indiana, only winning that game by 7. They had to come from behind to beat a solid and stingy Northwestern team. Very good defense with the Wildcats, just dominated Auburn in their bowl game. Had to come from behind to win that game in the Big Ten Championship. And then they started slow against Clemson, but then dominated from the second quarter on and annihilated the Tigers by 21. Ohio State's been battle-tested. They've seen a little bit of everything this year. Alabama, not so much. We haven't had to see Mac Jones be put in a situation to lead a game-winning drive, to help put his team in field goal range to win the game. We haven't seen them trail that much this year. We haven't seen how this team deals with adversity if they fall behind 10-0, 14-0. So it'll be interesting to see, will that pay off in this game? Will Alabama continue to dominate, or will Ohio State's experience play a bigger role in this one? Different in-game experiences play a role in this one. And will Ohio State's freshness play a role in this one? 7 games versus 12 games. Many think that's the reason Ohio State dominated so well in the Sugar Bowl against the Tigers. I wouldn't go that far, but I do think playing 5 less games does keep you a little bit fresher than a team that has played 5 more than you. So it has been a wild season, guys. It's been a wild, wild journey for every team across the country. Whether you're a Buckeye fan, whether you're a Crimson Tide fan, or none of the above, whoever you support, it has been a wild year. It has not been the year we envisioned, but we have made it through this college football season. We have prevailed, we have pushed through, and we have reached the finish line. No one wants to see the college football season come to an end, but I'm glad we're going to get to see it end with such a fantastic matchup between two fantastic and well-deserving teams in the national championship. History in the making, guys. Everything is on the line Monday night, and you do not want to miss it. The road to the championship, Ohio State, Alabama. We cannot wait to see who takes home the trophy again on Monday night. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. Also, make sure to check out everything down in the description below. We've got so much exclusive content for you over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Our brand new Gridiron Expert merchandise is also for sale. Go give that a look. Our Patreon account, our BetNow promo code and offers for you betting men and women out there. Make sure to go give that a look. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.